Hello fellow gamers, this is Tim, Samwise7, and if you haven't noticed, I'm doing this one in black and white, because I just feel it's appropriate. Today I want to talk about the old school Renaissance and the retro clone movement of basically taking older versions of games that aren't in production anymore, or out of print, and basically putting out the games again, putting out the rules again, via the open game license that WotC put out. And basically just the idea that while you can copyright words and other things that are in intellectual property, you can't necessarily copyright the actual rules and the mechanics. So I'm just going to go through some of the games that I've heard of or I've found online that people play and people like, and I'm kind of interested in them myself. So. Oh, there goes. Barbarians Lemuria, I've done 2 reviews of that, and I'm going to link all these on the side, so don't be scribbling down notes as I go. It's not really an old school game, but it has an old school feel to it. There's Basic Fantasy, which is not exactly a retro clone, but is more of a restatement of some of the older games with more modern D20 things thrown in there. It's free. And Barbarians Lemuria, one of the versions of it is free. There's Castles and Crusades, which is more of a light version of the D20 open license with old school tropes. So, it has an old school feel, and it's kind of like the middle ground between newer games and older games. I know a lot of people like it. There's Dragon Warriors, which was just recently put back out. Really isn't a retro clone, but I know a lot of people in the UK especially loved Dragon Warriors when it came out, and I never heard of the game until I actually saw it in the gaming store I go to. So I picked it up, and it definitely has an old school feel, and for people that like that sort of thing, like me, I ran a small campaign of it, a play by post game online, but before real life kind of kicked me in the head. But Dragon Warriors is cool. You should check that out. The Dragonsfoot Forums, from what I've heard, is basically the headquarters dealing with all these old school Renaissance games. And even just like the actual, if you actually have first edition, old D&D, books, there's forums for those, that different threads for those kind of games as well. There's Dungeon Slayers. It's a free download. Really don't know much about it. I downloaded it, but I've downloaded so much stuff. I only have so many hours in the day to actually read RPGs that I download, so I really don't know much about it. But I know it's free and it has an old school feel, so check that out. There's Gore, which I think is like generic something. I really don't know what they all stand for. GORE, but it's basically a D100 retro clone. There's Hackmaster Basic, and I don't think this one isn't free, but you can pick it up. And I believe it's a first edition retro clone. I could be wrong on that. I really don't have a lot of experience with these games, but I have a lot of interest in them. I definitely want to try to play them. I can't necessarily find players all the time to try to do these things. I have a gaming club that I try to throw up one-shots every once in a while, and sometimes I don't get that much interest. but for me personally, I enjoy these games. I think my favorite of the retro clones so far, like I said, I haven't read everything, is Labyrinth Lord, as I posted in a previous video. I just like how clear it is. I like how it's set up. I like how easy it is. I can kind of just tell just how fast character creation would be. And I don't know, Labyrinth Lord I think is my favorite. It also has the Advanced Edition companion, or AEC, that basically pulls first edition ideas into the lighter classic D&D rules, which I thought was really kind of a cool idea. So it's kind of like an add-on. You can just bolt on different things onto your Labyrinth Lord rules. And I like that the page count for both of these things is fairly light. I think it's like 140 for Labyrinth Lord and maybe 160 for the AEC add-on to LL. So I don't know. I like the idea of having a light engine and just adding spells, adding monsters, but basically using the same simple mechanics. So that was pretty sweet. I'm hoping to run a Labyrinth Lord campaign in the near future. we'll see. There's also mazes and Minotaurs, which is basically like old school D&D, if D&D was set in like a Greece type setting. It's free as well, so you can download that. There's Microlite 20, which is basically just a very tiny version of the D20 OGL. I know a lot of friends that are kind of interested in this, and it kind of has the same sort of feel as Barbarians of Lemuria in a way because it's so light. But that's free, so you can download that. There's O.S.R, and I think it's old school something. I don't know what it all stands for. But it's basically a clone of the first edition of D&D, and it has a pretty big following as well. And another thing about these old school Renaissance kind of like free retro clones is that they put out the license so that other people, other third parties, can put out adventures for these. So they're basically kind of like umbrellas that other companies can put out adventures for these rules where they couldn't before for like first edition D&D or old Dungeons and Dragons. So there's kind of like there's all these little adventures that you can buy out there that are fairly cheap, and there's lots of free stuff as well. I think the old school Renaissance is pretty cool for just having all kinds of free stuff available for people to download. Another big popular one in the old school Renaissance is Swords and Wizardry. It's basically a clone of the 1974 old Dungeons and Dragons game, the original. For me, I don't know. For some reason, like I usually like Rules-lite stuff. I can't really get into this version of the Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know. It's just I don't know. Just that doesn't suit me for some reason. I think Labyrinth Lore just like has a little bit more detail in it, and I don't know. I just like the way that Labyrinth Lore does it. But Swords and Wizardry has a lot of awesome art. It has that old school flavor to it, and I just like looking at it. It's pretty sweet. There's another one that I really don't have that much information on. I couldn't really find much. It's called Wayfarers, and I'll put a link as well. Don't really know much about that. So download it, check it out, see what you think. But I try to find as many retro clones as I could, and do a little bit of research on what everything is. Maybe I should have done a little bit more, but I figure for a short video, it wouldn't be that bad. So check them out. I think a lot of them are free. Some of them you have to buy, like Castles and Crusades, and some of these other ones like Hackmaster Basic. But I don't know. If you're interested in playing old school Dungeons and Dragons, and like me, you aren't really interested in tons of miniature rules and things like attack of opportunities, and you think things like prestige classes got a little ridiculous, and I don't know. I just got so burnt out on the modern editions of Dungeons and Dragons that for me, I don't want to go any more forward. I don't want to quote unquote evolve. I want to go backwards. I want to regress, I guess, if you want to use like a negative connotation towards it. Because while I never played the older Dungeons and Dragons really as like a campaign, I played a one shot once. My mother bought me a old school Dungeons and Dragons box game, I think it was. Something like goblins. I think there was a big goblin on the front with a white cover. And we played it, and I think the thing got demolished because we were kids. But I don't know. I just like the simplicity of it. I like the ease. I mean, we were kids and we picked it up pretty easily. So that always kind of gave me something that I wanted to look back and try to find the games for that. I have found. I actually own some of the I own the Rules Cyclopedia, and I own the first edition books I found at a convention. I have the second edition books I found at a convention, but I find that the retro clones clarify some of the awkwardly written passages in some of these games, and they just put them together pretty well. They just take everything that's put out and they add errata, and I don't know, it's pretty sweet. So check out the old school games. If you like to, some people they don't want to go backwards. They just want, the new edition to come out. And I don't know. For me, I like the old games. And apparently my cat does too. So, all right, this is Tim. Take care, and I'll talk to you later whenever I get around to doing another video.